I'm so excited to share with you my new watercolor brush pack called Living Watercolor, the complete watercolor studio, and it's created exclusively for Procreate. This is a pack for beginners and advanced artists alike. It's a complete toolkit that has everything you need to start your digital watercolor painting journey or add an even more authentic look to your already amazing skills. You have your brushes, paint, canvases, sketches, and a tutorial all at your fingertips. There are 40 carefully curated watercolor brushes made from actual watercolor paint and textures, including brush stamps and splatters for an extra touch. And my 12 color palettes are in here as well to help you get set up and on your way super fast. Included are 4 incredible canvases that will help transform your digital painting into a more real watercolor look. And I won't leave you on your own, so I've included the step-by-step video tutorial that will help guide you through the process and hopefully inspire you with some new ideas. I've also added 6 sketches that you can use to practice with and improve your painting skills, and we'll be using one of those today. I've made a link for you in the description below where you can go and find more information on these brushes, and as of the date of this video's launch, they're on sale for a special discount for a limited time, so you'll want to go check that out. In this video, I'll show you an example of how to use this brush pack. We'll be drawing some cherries using the brushes, a canvas, a palette, and a guide, and I'll show you from start to finish how to get the max out of this watercolor studio. I've shared the color palette for you for this tutorial, so you can just hit the link in the description below to download and install into Procreate. And now we're all ready to go. Okay, so once you have your order, you'll either have the invoice or a link on the web page, and you just want to be on your iPad. If you're not, you just want to go and download that and then transfer it from your computer to your iPad via Dropbox or however you transfer large files. So what you just want to do is click on it and it will automatically start to download. So once that's done downloading, you can just click the arrow at the top of the web page, or you can just go into your files, because this is where you will end up in your downloads section. So just make sure you navigate through here to your downloads. So I'm going to have this zip file, Living Watercolor. It's going to tap that and automatically it will unzip for me. So I'm just going to click on this folder and here we go. We have, wish we could see these a little better. Let's just look at them in a list form so we can see. We have brushes, canvases, drawing guides, and swatches. So let's first go in and set up our brushes. So all you're gonna have to do actually is just tap on this and instantly it will import into Procreate for you, which is really handy. And you can just go to your brushes and you'll notice at the top, I've got a few here because I've already done this a couple of times, but you'll see it at the top. So Living Watercolor will be there and you can click on that and see all the brushes. The other way you can do that, of course, is hit the plus sign, go in, hit import, navigate to your downloads and find them that way. So if that's something you prefer, but again, you can just tap on it and it will automatically import, which is kind of nice. So here we go, we have all the brushes. There are 40 of them, like I said. So we have a pencil, a fine detail, it's like a rigger brush, that sort of long line. Fill brush, round brush, build and blend brushes, those are amazing, my favorite. And you can see all those essential ones there, and then all your stamp brushes and splatter brushes as well for those extra touches. So let's go back out of here. I'm just gonna swipe up, go back to my folder, back to downloads, and let's go get our canvas. Actually, we'll import a swatch. I'm gonna pick the cherries because that's what we're going to be doing today. That will import. Again, automatically it's gonna be in here. Of course, I have them already, so this is the one I'm gonna set as my default. So you just click on the little ellipses here and set as default. I like to use classic mode, it's just where I'm comfortable working, so I'm gonna do that. All right, so back to my folder. Back in here, I'm gonna grab a canvas. Today I'm gonna use canvas 3. So that will just import, and I can go and find that over here in the main gallery. Okay, so now we have our canvas. And lastly, I'm gonna go and grab our drawing guide. So I'm actually gonna go to the wrench and say add, insert file, and I'm just gonna go back and navigate to the drawing guide. Click on that, we'll have 6 to choose from. There's the cherries, a feather, a maple leaf, a little cute scene with a little mouse and sewing kit type thing, and poppies, and a teacup. So today we're just gonna do cherries. Pop that in. So we already have our sketch. So already we have our brushes, our canvas, our paints, and our sketch ready to go. So that's great. So let's have a look at this canvas actually first. You can see that it has imported this image on the draw here layer. You'll always want to have your layers below the locked canvas. That's really important. If they're above, of course, they're not going to have the same effect. So we can look in here. I have everything locked, but of course you are welcome to just swipe here, unlock, and change any of the settings if you want. If you want a slightly bolder, softer look, you can go in there and have a little play with that as well. But I've set them to the preferences that I like the best, so you can feel free to, depending on your project, you never know, you might want to change it a little bit. Okay, so I'm gonna take this picture and just go tap here, go to multiply, knock back my opacity quite a bit. I don't like to see it too much. Well, I guess I'll make it so you can still see. Probably a good idea. And then I will hit the plus sign to add a new layer. I'm just gonna pop that below. So we have all our palettes set up, so I'm just gonna go and pick one of the colors here. Normally what I do with watercolor is just build up from my light colors first and sort of get darker as we go along, so it kind of has that watercolor look. So I'm just gonna pick one of these lighter pink colors, and just this one here. And I'm gonna go and grab, let's see, I have used the sketch pencil to make these drawings, so that's what we've used for that. But I'm gonna go to one of my favorites, and it is the Build and Blend rough or smooth edge. It just depends on what you're looking for. One's a little bit more textured than the other in the actual texture and the edges, so it depends what you're wanting to do. Today I'm gonna use that Build and Blend rough edge. I'm gonna show you how this works. It actually is pretty cool. I'm gonna just bump it up a little bit. So depending on the pressure, you can see it almost adds more water. So it's more paint. And then as you lift your pencil, it gets a lot fainter, and it's like it's either run out or has water, but you can go back. So I'm pushing harder, lighter, and I can actually, like, while I'm being really light with my pen, blend that out, make that even watery. So you can actually blend with it, and then go back. I've lifted up my pencil and done it again, go back, add more, really add more, and still really blend that out too, which is pretty cool because it really, it's like you can play with the water even though it's a brush. So I'm loving that. This is my favorite, absolute favorite brush right now, because it's just so convenient when you're doing watercolor to have it act like water, which is fun. So I'm just gonna start filling it in. It's gonna be pretty light at the beginning, just like a little bit of a wash. And just gonna, you know what, I'm gonna like kind of miss areas sort of on purpose, again, to give me that look. Just getting it around here. Being kind of messy, like it's not, you don't need to be super neat with it at this stage. Leaving those little areas because we know they're going to be highlights. Okay, so that was pretty straightforward. I'm actually going to do these two cherries on two different layers. You'll see why in a minute. So I'm just going to add a new layer. I'm going to use the same pink just for this part. They will be the same color. Just going to fill this in. All right, good stuff. Okay, so then I'm going to go back to my other layer, and I'm going to pick up another color. Start filling that in. I'm actually going to make my brush 100%. And just sort of putting this in here. Sort of building that interesting look we've got going here. Oops. I'm just darkening out the edges, trying to make this look like it's a little bit round. And I'm not going to worry too much if I make a mistake with these highlights, like I've already kind of gone over here. I can always just go back in and erase it, which is great. And we can make it look like it was always there. I'm just going to keep playing with these red colors. I'm actually just going to make a brighter pink here. I think one of these can be swapped out. Something like that. That's better. It's looking a little bit not quite as vibrant as I was hoping, so I'll just do that. Just kind of doing circles. Just playing with the pressure of my brush when I want to blend a little bit more. I think that's looking good. So I'm just going to add a new layer on top. So hit the plus sign, hit the layer and say clipping mask. And I'm actually just going to turn this down a little bit so I can see a bit better. So this is why I like them on separate layers, just so I can get these edges. So I'm going to go with a darker red, that dark one there. And I'm going to go and grab the soft bloom. This is a great brush, especially for edges. And I'm just going to have it around 40%. And this is where we can get those darker edges. You can really make just the edge dark. And it makes it look like it has that dried paint effect, which I love. And we can create that, so it's cool. So I'm just sort of pushing around the edges and again makes that nice sort of bleeding, sort of like the water's gone in idea there. Oops, make it a little bit bigger. All right. Just pop that a little redder. Okay, and we can adjust this, the layer mode. Maybe try multiply might work. Sometimes color burn is nice. Which I kind of like the color burn for today. I change it often depending on what I feel like. So we can keep going with that and just sort of keep playing with your colors. I'm just gonna make some adjustments to this color palette and I will adjust it for you in the download. Just gonna have it a little bit more vibrant. I'm gonna go back to my build and blend rough edge and just keep going with that. Just having some layers here. Sort of I'm creating that model-y look. And blending it out. All right. So let's see. I think I'm gonna go and just make these edges of these white parts, these highlights a little, fill it in like that. And not that color. And just go back to this color here. Get a little darker in there. So I'm just going to grab my eraser and I'm actually going to use one of the brushes as the eraser. So I'm just going to use my sketching pencil. It has a nice edge to it. So I'm just going to go and it's, I don't know, it's around size 30. just sort of fix my little mistakes here. Because it's like a rough edge, it'll still give me a natural look. Just a little bit. Fix what I did. Okay, so there is one. We're gonna go back to this cherry and we will do the same thing. So maybe I'll fast forward a little bit, just make it a little bit quicker because it's exactly the same thing. We're just gonna go and take some new colors with the rough edge and just sort of start blending out, building up, making it a little irregular, trying to make it look circular. I'm trying to keep the highlights, the lighter colors sort of in the center. Again, I can lift my pen to blend it here and then push again for a little bit more paint around the edges and stuff. And lift it up to grab more paint basically. And you can do that a few times just to really get it in there. Okay, I'm gonna go grab this one. Okay, I'm gonna go create a clipping mask by hitting the plus sign, tapping on the layer, and hitting clipping mask. Going and grabbing the darker red, going to my soft bloom brush, and just getting those edges. Okay, and I'm going to turn that layer to, I think we had it on color burn, is that right? We did. I'm just going to keep going with that a little bit. Okay, actually I'm going to take these two layers, I'm going to highlight them both by swiping to the right and pulling them below, because technically these are behind that cherry. This cherry is behind that cherry. Does that make sense? I'm just going to go back and fix this guy, just give him that edge there. That probably makes more sense. A little bit darker there. Back to this cherry. Let's see. I think we need some more of these colors in here. I'm actually going to use my wet mop. It's sort of just a, oops, I'm on the clipping last layer. It's just a really soft, you can see here, it's just, well, a wet mop like one would be in real life. In the watercolor world anyway. Just going to use that, just really lightly, keeping my highlights still. Same with this one, just a few spots with that, creating a little bit more depth. Bringing it a little bit smaller here. Okay, that's good stuff. All right, and this second cherry here, I'm just gonna go and get my eraser again. It's still on my sketch pencil, and just give this a little fix. So we can still see those. Okay. Let's move on to the stems. And I'm just going to create a new layer on top and use one of these. Let's try this one to start with. I'm going to use my, let's see, my round brush. I'm just gonna bring that up. The round brush is really nice. This is a very good all-rounder as well. Gives you lots of good texture, lots of nice edges, and just, yeah, good for lots of applications. So I'm gonna just start with that and get this little stem here going. Not gonna be too perfect about it. I am holding down my pen the whole time. Good. And then with it, I'm just gonna build it a little bit with some of the color here, just to make some of those little, you know, this is kind of rough here. So let's bring in a little bit of a darker color. It's a bit too dark, I think. Let's try that one. It's better. You know, have some little irregularities here. A little bit thick. Good. I'm just going to play around with some of the colors just to sort of make this look a little bit more realistic that it would be done in watercolor. Now what you can do is, it's probably not the greatest example to show you this, but I'm going to go to the blender. Now watch this. The blender, oops, the blender does nothing, it doesn't paint, okay? It only works on paint. So it's just like adding water. So you just go in and it's just like adding water to the edges and it will blend them nicely together. I'll show you a different example somewhere else too, but that's what that does. So if you're trying to use the blender and you're like, wait, it doesn't actually make any paint, that's why. It's just supposed to blend. Okay. So let's get this lighter color and just start our leaf here. I'm going to go back to my rough edge, go back to my build and blend rough edge, or I can actually show you some other brushes too, is the fill brush, and it's really handy for loads of things. Just gives you a nice edge to it as well, and that's really good for doing, and you can do pressure as well, so you don't have to have it all solid the entire time, and it blends out nicely too. So we could use this one, or we could use, let's see, well, these are your angle brushes, so of course if you're doing more like angle things, those are useful. So I have one more straight up and down, and then more of an angle tapered one you might like. Depends what you're working on. And we've done the bloom, we've done the mop. Well, we'll do the fluffy brush later. Smooth and fade is pretty cool. It's like this. One side's going to be a little rougher and the other side's a little bit more faded. The glaze is, so this one has a totally different quality to it. You can see it has different texture and a different flow. You can really get some interesting, nice water effects with that too. Actually, let's use that one for the base of our leaf here. Okay, so I'm just gonna go and trace the edge sort of as best we can. Just gonna fill the whole thing in. I'm gonna leave a few little white spots. I love talking and painting. I stop mid-sentence all the time. I'm sure that's annoying. All right. go back in. Oops, I'm gonna try to make that line look. So I hope you're seeing this because it's looking on the monitor a little pink, so hopefully when I'm doing this it will actually look green. It is green in real life here, but I'm just noticing on my camera it looks a little bit like it's pink, which is odd. Anyways, we'll see. Hopefully that will work out for us. Okay, so we have a nice base. I'm going to go back to, oh sorry, I should probably show you this. The dry brush is also great too. It's going to give you those, actually I'll give you a different color, hold on. Maybe something dark. That type of look, like just, you know, when you want really harder edges, so it's like a dry fan brush type look. Probably not what we need for today's painting, but it's good for some certain applications for sure. Back to my build and blend, and let's just get a different green. I'm just gonna keep making little marks in here, just sort of getting it a little bit modelly looking. I'm just playing around, maybe a little bit brighter. All right, and something, well, it's probably a little bit too dark. This one, get this edge here, it's going to be darker here. Try to do it a little neater. So same thing with this, I'm just going to go and do a clipping mask on this layer. I think I'm going to stay, yeah, this green's fine. Back to my soft bloom. Get some of those edges. Creating that dried paint look. That's a little bit too much there. The dried edges. Okay, and I'm still gonna just keep working on this bit. I'm gonna actually, you know what? I'm gonna do a layer on top and just do the detail right now. I'm gonna stay with this medium color. I'm gonna get my fine detail brush. I'm gonna bump up my drawing just a touch so I can remember where I'm going. Or I can actually put it back on top where it should be. And put that up a little bit. Okay. Might as well use my guides if we've got them. So I'm just gonna just do this little detail, the little veins and stuff. Okay, Now let's go and grab some of our stamps and make something interesting here. So I'm going to just go on this layer, hit the plus sign, and we'll automatically create a new clipping mask there. I'm just going to pick a green here and going to go and find, let's see, maybe this guy. We'll start here. So what you do with this, the important thing with the stamps is to remember is to put them all on their own layers so that we can move them around, or at least that's what I like to do. So you tap that, and here we go. We have this paint splotch. Because it's within the clipping mask, it'll stay there. So I can move it, I can rotate it, and, you know, create interesting things. So I'm just gonna take off my snapping and magnetics here. All right, so that's gonna look good, I think. Let's just see if we like it normal or multiply. Okay. I actually kind of prefer it at normal. I think that's good. So I'm gonna hit the plus sign again. Maybe just like adjust my color a touch. Then go and grab a different one. Let's do this guy. Let's see, that edge is probably better. Okay, that's good. Just gonna bump up the color on this overall too. Just noticing again, for me it looks fine, but on the camera it's not picking up. So I'm gonna go back in with my rough edge and just add a little more color here overall. Maybe a little bit of this over here. So we can do the same thing to our cherries if we want. I'm just going to go onto this layer and hit that plus sign, grab a pink or a red, and let's just, I don't know, find this one. Not sure we can see it below there, but let's find out. Okay, and I'm gonna go and set that to multiply. And you can also change the opacity too, of course, right? And I think that's kind of giving us, I've actually put 2 stamps on that, but I kind of like it. Giving us a little bit more of a modelly look. I'm going to turn off my guide here, just so we don't have those lines. Okay, same with this one. Hit the plus sign. Let's grab this guy. Click on that and let's try multiply. Again, depends on what look you're going for, but this is great just to add that extra touch. All right. Then I'm going to go at the bottom here, add a new layer. Just make sure that's at the very bottom. Bring in this color here. Let's go, you know what, I'm going to use a soft bloom. Let's see how this works. I'm just going to make a little shadow. Okay, I'm going to have it a bit smaller, maybe around 8. Sort of just creating that dark area underneath. And I'm going to take down the opacity and the brush size up a little bit, maybe to around 15 or so. And just make that a little softer. All right. We can have a little bit more fun and maybe have some pink and go get one of these guys. Let's try this guy. It's a little bit small. And rotate and make it bigger. And probably bring down the opacity a bit, kind of like that. We can also, with this same pink or this pink, we can go and grab that fluffy brush, make that nice and big. Maybe add, like we've done a bit of a wash behind, something like that. Kind of thing, right? And why not throw in some splatters? So I'm gonna go grab that one. These are nice and small, so we can just do those, that kind of a thing. You can see that, or we can do some more of a splashy one, sort of like that, maybe a little bigger. That's a little bit much. I'm gonna do it on a new layer. Bring it down a touch. Maybe it's like that, and I can just sort of do that, and then bring down the opacity maybe, or even just do a multiply. See where that leads us. And add a new layer. Maybe some of these. It's a bit small. That type of look. Now I'm just being crazy at this moment, but having too much fun with the splatters. They were fun to make, I have to say. I don't know, maybe some more. And I guess we can throw in some green too, for good measure. Maybe we'll use these ones. Something like that. Maybe it's a little bit too many splatters. That's all right, you're allowed to have fun with them. Maybe I'll just like change the opacity of some of these guys. A little less bold, but it's fun to play with. Very good. Okay, so I think that's probably good. It gives you a good overview of how you can use these brushes and all the wonderful things you can create. And before I finish today, I'm just going to show you what it looks like with or without the canvas. So here you are with and without. You can see it still looks like watercolor even without the canvas, but it just really adds a whole other dimension with it. So that's pretty much it for today. I hope you've had a good overview of how these brushes work and how they would bring value to your artwork as well, and really boost your ability in your digital watercolor skills and just make your paintings look even better. And hopefully you enjoy them as much as I do. So thank you so much for watching, and I really appreciate you taking the time and all of your love and support. You guys have been amazing. So love you guys. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.